2025, there are dozens of motion systems on the market, from price points that range from $3 grand all the way up to $100,000 plus. And to the normal person, it could be very overwhelming. However, there's one company in my head that really sticks out, and that is Vero Motion. I've tried pretty much everything: Cubic Systems, DOF Reality, D-Box, and I actually have one right here which will be reviewed in the next few weeks. And even the DDX Prime from Driven Dynamics. And all those systems have their pros and cons. There's a few reasons Vero Motion is so good, and even why we exclusively use them for our turnkey. So without further ado, let's hop into this video, dive into it, and talk more about the Vero Motion Champion GT. All right, so first things first, let's go over some of the technical aspects of the Vero Motion Champion GT. So first things first, it is a 4 actuators setup, 3 degrees of freedom, roll, pitch, and heave. The actuators are 4 inches of travel, 200 millimeters per second acceleration, and then the price tag comes in at $6,500, which isn't bad at all. The first thing we're gonna do is do a little bit of drifting. Now, I'm gonna make a video on this specifically, but drifting really isn't that good on a 3 DOF system because you really need that yaw and sway. You know, this isn't advertised for drifting, but I know a lot of you watching like drifting, so I'm gonna spend a couple minutes driving, give my impressions, that sort of thing, let you know how I feel. That was pretty crazy right there. Did you see that? I loaded my tune and the physical car lowered and jumped a little bit, and the motion system jumped too. That is really sick. So while driving here, I'm going to talk about some of the software, I guess, and some of the physical aspects. So if you can see down here, that is the controller, the CAN bus controller for the simulator. I don't know if my head can see it. There we go. So that's what controls everything. Each actuator has 2 plugs, a 12-pin and a 4-pin, one for motor power, one for motor signal. The more pins for signal, I think that's pretty obvious. It may not be though. Anyway, everything is ran through SimHub. It's a very simple setup. You just gotta measure your actuator width, your length, all that good stuff to configure it in the SimHub. And then in SimHub, you can change basically everything. I'll show that once we do a couple laps of drifting, just to explain my thoughts on the drifting side of things. All right, so let's hop in here. Again, with drifting, only gonna do a couple laps. So actually, I'll show this in the software once we're done with this run. But you can actually have traction loss with the 3 DOF system, which I know doesn't really make sense. It doesn't make too much sense in my head either, just because, you know, 3 DOF doesn't have traction loss. They try to add it, doesn't really work, so that actually isn't on right now. This is just, you know, the good old roll, pitch, and heave. That turned off, and I suck. That's awesome. Currently driving the VDC Virtual Drift Championship Bickernicky, and do one more run. But yeah, so with my current settings, you know, with 3 DOF, the motion doesn't help too much with drifting, but that's just how it is. I'm gonna make a completely separate video talking about drifting and motion and what will work, what won't work, and that sort of thing, just because I think it is useful as people want to learn car control, drifting, and even, you know, maybe even better their racecraft. Because in my opinion, if things can do well with drifting, they can do well with racing, just because there's a lot less going on with racing. Still a lot, but physically with the car, not as much. So that was a pretty decent run, I'll call it that. But yeah, I don't really think the motion for me is distracting while drifting. I like the haptics and the movement of the car. Like, of course, if I go like this, it's gonna still move. Okay, okay, all right. But to most, it doesn't really aid in anything like it does in road racing. So that's enough of that. I do wanna show you the SimHub. So SimHub, as we can see here, let me see, put my head forward. So it's all controlled here. To control the motion, you want to go to motion, and then this is where all your settings are. So right now I have it up to 70%. I'm actually going to turn it down. And the cool thing about this is you could program it to different buttons on your sim. So if you have like a shifter, like this Heusinkfeld mag shift, or maybe even like a, what are those called? Stream decks, you can program buttons to adjust it. So right side goes up, left side goes down. That's pretty cool. So we're gonna leave it at 50. But this is where everything is essentially adjusted. It's pretty simple. It explains everything. These are my settings if you would like to copy them. Nothing too crazy. Your controls, all that stuff. When it comes to your controls, here's where you can control, you know, to increase stuff, that sort of thing. If you have a dedicated controller, that could be good. But yeah, SimHub is really, really simple to use. It's used on a lot of different simulator things. So it being implemented into the motion system where you don't have to have anything new, it's really, really cool. So with that, let's switch out the wheels and do some road racing. Doing some iRacing, you know how it is, the classic game in terms of road racing and all that good stuff. We're at the Watkins Glen Cup course, one of the favorites these days. Very simple course, very fun course. In the 911 GT3R, the steering wheel of choice we have here is the SimMagic GT Neo with the Alpha Evo Pro. So I know, what do you guys think of this new UI? I kind of dislike it very much compared to the old one, but that's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about the motion. So within iRacing, you know, it is probably the #1 racing game these days in terms of road racing. Ooh, besides, you know, LMU, Assetto Corsa, ACC, that sort of thing. But iRacing is fantastic. So let's talk a little about the road racing side of using this motion system. The first things first, the amount of travel that you get out of this rig. So right now it is at a lower percentage than it usually is. It's at 50%. So 50% of 4 inches is about 2. And comparatively to that of other motion systems I've tried, like the QS210, the QS210, QS220, D-Box, all those 3DOF systems, this really has that proper travel and that movement that I would be looking for in a motion system. Now, a big thing with motion systems that some people do get wrong is the balance between travel speed, aka acceleration, and your stroke distance. If you have too much of one or the other, or even not enough of one or the other, it really ruins the experience. So with this, in my opinion, it's nice and balanced. And I think in a lot of people's opinions, because a lot of people that have tried this, you know, it gets turned up, like I'll turn it up 55, 60, 65, 70%. People say it's a little aggressive just because of how much movement there is, but there's no latency with it. Good God. Ugh. Which is awesome. You know, a new motion company coming onto the market, you may think, oh, there's some kinks and some issues with the latency or the software that's able to read the system, but Vero has not had any of that, which is great. The only real downside I see with this rig is the haptics. They could be turned up probably 10-15%, hitting the curbs, getting through everything in this. You really do feel like you're getting thrown around. Now, I've never been on Watkins Glen, but I've been on AMP, been on Road Atlanta, and when you hit these curbs, especially the tall ones, you definitely feel it through your entire body when you're slamming into them. And this definitely is able to accomplish that. Now, some people will argue that the amount of, I guess, you know, movement when you hit the brakes, the roll forward, you know, it's kind of exaggerated due to body roll. But what it's trying to implement and trying to replicate, in my opinion, is that forward lateral feeling when you slam onto the brakes. It pushes yourself forward, which is what happens here. If you don't think about the body roll, because the body roll is, you know, the side to side, and the forwardness is really the G-forces. I think when you slam the brakes, having that forward feeling is really helpful to feel that, you know, that realism and that replication of that car feel. I need to lock in and do a decent lap. This first corner I keep getting sauced out on, which kind of sucks. But even through elevation changes like this on Spa is insane. And even here, having that elevation change, you can see myself move up as that's going through that corner, that right left, that there's that elevation change, and I could feel that almost light feeling you get with big elevation changes with this motion system. Even down here, it's really cool that I noticed, because of how much travel it has, when you're going around a bend like that with, you know, an elevation change and you're also turning, it can have both of those movements be translated instead of it bottoming out or anything of that such. Oh man. All right, we're gonna lock in this next lap. I'm gonna shut up, do a decent lap, see how fast we can go. It's probably not gonna be very good. I'm not the biggest fan of the 911 just because of how light the front end is, but let's lock in here, get that feeling out of the Vero Champion GT, and see how fast we could go. Go faster there for sure. Overbraked. I'm a ding dong for that one. This is not gonna be very fast. I could already feel it. 111 flat, good Lord. Yeah, another thing that I wanted to point out, especially with this system, is the micro adjustments I have in the steering wheel. So honestly don't know if you could see my steering wheel right now. I don't think you can, but as you see, when I'm making these micro adjustments, it's not super dramatic within the motion system itself that I'm making these micro adjustments. Of course, when I go like this, right, you're gonna feel that the inertia of the vehicle moving across, right? But as I'm making these micro adjustments through the corner, it's not translating it like super dramatically through the motion system, which is awesome because some systems do that, and this not being able to do that is fantastic. All right, yeah, fourth gear, whoa, nearly died there. That would have been not fun. And then turning in once again. So I've had this system for about a month and a half now, and honestly, zero complaints. Everything that I've tested it on, whether it be, you know, road racing, rally racing, trophy truck racing, drifting, I've been thoroughly impressed, especially compared to the other systems that I've tested. It's either on par or better, and sometimes significantly better than some of the things that I've talked about previously in this video. And another big thing I do like about this system is its price point. Comparatively, its competitors like the D-Box Gen 5 and the Cubic QS220, those systems, the D-Box is about $8,250 with brackets, and then the Cubic is roughly 10 grand, which is, you know, a lot of cheddar to put into a motion system. This guy, it is $6,500, which, you know, still a lot of cheddar, but comparatively to its competitors, it is significantly cheaper, almost 50% cheaper than the Cubic system and a couple grand cheaper than the D-Box. And really, you're getting as much, if not more, out of this system than those two systems. The setup of the software, equally as easy as the other two. The setup of the actual hardware, also equally as easy as the other two. And honestly, it's even more compact software-wise with the CAN bus and the 4 actuators than, say, the QS220, because each of the 2 actuators has its own I guess, controller, CAN bus, whatever you want to call it, unit. And of course, we know the D-Box is very compact, which is one of its big upsides. But from a feeling perspective and how everything translates through the game into, you know, my body, this is just fantastic compared to the others. All the micro adjustments, all the small movements from the track, it translates it very well. Wow. And another great thing about this Vero system, the Champion line, it could go even cheaper to $5,000 with their 3-inch travel, which is still 3 inches of travel is double that of a D-Box, and the ratio of speed is fantastic, just where you want to be. So if we put price aside between the QS220, the D-Box, and this, the Vero and the QS220, are probably comparable to each other, but I would still go with this. I think this is better, well-rounded. I feel that I get a lot more precise movements, nothing over-exaggerated. And if we add price back in, that's also a big factor to this. Also, looks-wise, you know, some may say the Cubic looks better. I'd say they both, in my opinion, both look pretty comparable to each other. In my opinion, I think the D-Box looks the best, but performance-wise, compared to the D-Box, this outdoes it completely. So for a balance of budget, performance, everything in between, I really don't see anyone else not going. I really don't see the reason why you wouldn't go with the Vero Motion Champion GT. And as time goes on, I'm really excited to try their Champion, their 3 inches of travel unit, and their Champion GTR, which is a little more expensive, but 6 inches of travel. That's gonna be pretty insane, borderline, crazy with that. That was not the line I wanted to take at all, but we'll rock with it. So, what do you guys think? What do you think about Vero? Do you think they are the future of motion, the new kings of motion? In my opinion, I think they are. I put a lot of trust into them. I have a lot of belief in them, and you know, for the majority of our turnkeys for the near and hopefully further future, I guess, we do plan to use solely Vero unless someone wants to use something different, but we'll always go with Vero first just because of how much we do like this product. And whether you want to go with just the system itself or you want to get something turnkey with the Vero Motion Champion GT, check out the link down below to boundlessracing.com where you can request a quote for a turnkey or buy one of these units for yourself. So let me know down below, what did I miss? We'll have probably more reviews of this system as time goes on. And what are your thoughts, your first impressions of the Champion GT? Make sure to like and subscribe. Check out boundlessracing.com. And with that, let's finish off this lap, and I'll catch you in the next video. Fastest lap, let's go, 109.6, still not amazing, but good bit better. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.